It's Saturday morning and we're back for another episode of the Homeschool Neighborhood. We've been talking almost every Saturday morning about all things homeschool questions, tips, and I've been bringing on some of my favorite people and friends to share their homeschool journeys with us because I hope that it will help and encourage you. If you have a question about your homeschool and you want to hop on live and talk with me, you can go to happystronghome.com/ask. And we can plan a time to go live. I'm Julie Kiris, the owner of the Happy Strong Home blog. Today, I have a really special guest, one of my homeschool mom friends. She is a health coach. She is a former Miss Michigan, and she is also a homeschool mom, which is why she's here today. She has had to make a lot of transformations in her homeschool this year, as have many of us. So I thought it'd be cool to talk with Kelli Turner and hear her story, hear her journey, and have her share with us the different changes that have happened along the way. Welcome, Kelli.
Thank you for having me here today. This is really fun.
You're welcome. So Kelli, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you're doing right now.
Obviously, we live in Connecticut, but I was born and raised in Michigan. My husband, he's from New York, so we ended up here. And I've been in Connecticut for almost 12 years. It'll be 12 years this summer. We have 4 boys, 10, 6, 4, and 2, and a new dog. I worked as a speech and language pathologist until my 3rd son was born, specializing in birth to 3, but also in children who are on the autism spectrum. Obviously, we homeschool. We've always homeschooled. When my oldest was ready for preschool, my husband and I had in the back of our minds that we probably always wanted to homeschool. But when we went and toured the preschool that we were thinking about sending him to, it was beautiful preschool. But all the things that he would be doing were things that he already was doing. And so I said to my husband, I don't know that I can justify paying all that money for him to do things he already does. So we ended up taking a 2-week trip during those first 2 weeks of school. Anyway, I said, you really can't miss your first 2 weeks of school. So let's try and homeschool him this year. And then every year after that, he's 10 and we've just every year and just been very prayer about that every year, if that's the right fit for our kiddos or for us. And every year God affirms that it is.
What a great story. And I know that for a lot of people, the homeschool journey sometimes starts with those preschool years where they have to make that first decision about their child's education. But this year, a lot of people's homeschool journey started abruptly and in the middle of their raising of their family. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But Kelli, you've also had a personal transformation this year, haven't you?
Yes. So interestingly enough, with the territory of having children, having the 4 boys, as a mom, you want the best for your children. And so sometimes that doesn't always equate to then continuing to do the best things for you. And so I ended up last June, I was feeling terrible. It got to the point I was, I can't even push myself up out of bed anymore. Really, I had gained so much weight, putting myself on, I don't want to say the back burner, but really attending to everyone's needs, which I never regret. And I would 100% always continue to do. I had children to care for them and to love them and to put them at the forefront of my life along with my husband and God. I don't regret any of that, but I needed to make some changes. And so I started a weight loss program and have so far lost 50 pounds, which the weight's been huge, but the extra energy, the inflammation has gone down. I feel good. I can serve my family better. And in doing that, also started health coaching then with my program and have been able to help over 40 people lose weight and feel good in themselves as well. Lots of homeschool moms looking for simplicity and a lifestyle change and something easy that we can do in the middle of all of this chaos that we love and cherish first. It's helping me serve my family better. And to be honest, I was probably looking down the tunnel of diabetes and other health issues as well. I was 236 pounds, so it was not healthy for me and not usual for me. So it's been a great thing all around.
I love how you talked about doing this for yourself is actually helping you as a homeschool mom. If people are watching and they want to get in touch with you about this, is there a place they can go or an email they can connect with you?
My email's fine. So that's KelliJTurner@gmail.com. Or I have a business number that you can call or text, 860-323-3236. So either one of those are fine. And what's really cool, I always like to tell people, because I was watching my health coach for a long time before I called her. because I was like, oh, is it going to lock me into anything? Is it going to be weird? And it's never going to be that. I want to be a place for people to ask questions. And then if that's something that works for you and your family, then that's your choice. So that's what I like to be, a place to find information.
Awesome. So let's dive in and tell me, how would you describe yourself as a homeschooler?
So this is a great question. I would describe myself as a homeschool chaotic. I mean, really, if I'm being honest, so we are very much people pleasers. We will get anything done on a deadline, but we also really like to be spontaneous. And so having a schedule, being a scheduled person, if you're looking for advice for that's not going to come from me, because that's never been who I am. However, I will say that one of the things that came out of my weight loss was looking at, okay, we're going to need a schedule now to really be successful. And so when you talk about growth in homeschool, that's an area that I've had to grow in, where I realized our loose schedule homeschool served us for a while, but it's not. If I had to say what I am, I'm a minimalist homeschooler and a reflective homeschooler, right? Because life isn't static. Life is very dynamic, and kids change, situations change, jobs changes, your home changes. I mean, we've had to move around all of the rooms in our house this year because my husband's home working. We're kind of fluid homeschoolers. I have always consistently chosen curriculum that has fit the needs of my children. So I don't buy a box curriculum set. I buy math, reading, and writing programs for my children that fit their needs. And then science and social studies, everything else, Bible, all of those things we work into our daily lives. We have done classical conversations. We've loved that. So we've had to kind of adjust. We've done writing classes with Mrs. Kiris, which has been amazing. Being a speech and language pathologist, I'm also a certified teacher as well. I think one of the reasons I homeschool too is I'm very picky about what my children learn and how they learn and who they're learning from. I remember watching you teach and watching the things that you did with your boys for writing different things. And there are certain styles of teaching. I've supervised people before for their CF. There are things that you can't teach people, right? And when you see it, you're like, that's it. And so obviously seeing you, I think I even asked you one year at the end of the year, are you going to be teaching next year? Because, you know what, Samuel, you're teaching. Just how it worked out when you said you were doing online writing classes, I was like, yeah, we're going to sign up for those because I know where you're coming from and how you teach. So we're very eclectic in that approach of reading, writing, math is where we focus. Everything else we build in. My kids, I've also taken them to OT and other things for writing, because being a speech pathologist, I see all of these things that are available to kids. And when my kids were writing, and for some of them that was tricky, the mechanics of writing, I thought, why am I here trying to make this harder for me when I have people who I know can do this really easily? So we're also really about using our resources and still while keeping our family circle and our worldview very tight here.
Awesome. The reason I wanted to chat today is because as your friend, I see you on Facebook. And what I've noticed about what you're doing in your homeschool is that you've had to make a lot of big changes and choices this year. I mean, homeschool moms are always making changes. You said you choose your curriculum to meet the needs of your children. So you're always making these choices. And that's part of the homeschool life any year. This year, though, you had to make like significant changes. And we all did. And some of those were because of limitations placed on us due to the current situation. It's not the same, because before I had all these choices, and now museums were closed, libraries were closed, field trips were canceled. So tell us about some of the different things you've had to do this year, the different curriculum and educational choices you made this year to accommodate.
Yeah. I don't even know if you remember, our family was very, very sick in January and February. We were out back in the real world for 1 week before the March 15th lockdown. Our whole last year was shot, but we kind of scrambled and picked up the pieces. When we caught our breath, I said, I think we're going to take a break from everything. We need a break. We laughed. Well, we were homeschooling anyway. It's not going to be that big of a change. I really underestimated how often we were gone and doing things. I ran a small co-op for families, especially families of young children, to come and explore homeschooling so that they could see if homeschooling would be a good fit for them and be able to meet some other homeschool moms. And so we weren't doing that. We weren't doing the Bible Beat, summer Bible club. Cycling was canceled. Soccer was canceled. I think my husband and I really took for granted that we had woven into our homeschool day. We realized midsummer that we had some pretty sad kids, and it was really surprising. I started an online Friday homeschool games group. I called around literally everywhere to see if there was any place that we could do some online interactive things. There were no really good fits for that. We started doing hikes outside, anything we could do to make our life different because we needed to for our kids. And so as 2020 has gone on, my husband laughed. He was like, can you start teaching the kids again? I'm going to be really real here because I feel like some moms need to hear this. It's not homeschool every day. Sometimes it's not homeschool for a season. And I have the benefit of my kids are pretty advanced. And so that flip upside down didn't challenge us academically. But my husband was like, he's telling his Awana teacher every week, no, mom doesn't do school anymore. I was, well, he's telling the truth. So let's go with that. For my oldest son, there was so much that ended for him. We really underestimated his need for social interaction and his need for people. So we started looking around, and as a result, actually, of my health program, found this online school. So there are coaches in my organization who've been health coaching for years and have a lot of financial margin. They wanted to be able to travel with their children, to have their children be homeschooled, but didn't feel equipped in their lives to be able to do that. So they started an online school. It's focused on being entrepreneurs and being world changers and working with the individual child. So it's a space where we still have say, the absolute say over his education. He's still home with us where he feels safe and comfortable. He did a trial day, and I actually cried in the beginning of this trial because it was going to be such a beautiful fit for him. And we're doing it for a trimester. This is a really important thing if you're looking at homeschool, if you're someone who's been thrown into homeschool, if you're someone who's been doing this forever, nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. What's serving your needs now? Where are your kids at and what do they need? 1, what's serving our needs? 2, does it meet our values? 3, recognizing that nothing is permanent. And 4, then shuffling everybody else. So maybe him online for that 3 hours a day will give me that extra time now with my 6 and 4-year-old to work with them after our little homeschool hiatus. Find those places where you need support. For me, scheduling, getting us on track, being consistent with that schedule, and finding those places that fit your worldview, your family view, and support your kids. And that might look different for every kid.
Well, I love what you said about nothing is permanent. In my talking to homeschool parents who are really new at this, they want, what's the one curriculum that's going to work for my kid? And it's not one curriculum. It is understanding how your family operates, understanding how your children learn and what they need, and picking from the buffet of resources that are available for your family. There are a lot of choices and things we can pick from. And your homeschool journey this year is showing that, how you, at different phases, have selected different things that worked at different times.
Right. So, different things, different times. Right. And I think it's so different now than even homeschool was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We have so many resources. So there's a lot to be said for being consistent so your children are learning consistently. But also if something's not working, that there are so many terrific resources out there.
Right. And it's important to not get so married to one specific curriculum sometimes. This is what I'm talking about with like transforming your homeschool. You're always undergoing this state of transformation as you grow in your homeschool. I always go back to nature and how plants grow, and the same tulip comes up every year, but it's a little bigger and it's a little different, it's a little brighter. So yes, you're teaching the same kids every year, but they're bigger and they've grown and they've progressed. And so you have to make some changes. Sometimes you have to transplant the plant into a bigger pot. Are there any signs and signals you might share with other moms who are like, how do I know when it's time to make a shift?
Right. And natural byproduct of homeschooling is you really know your kids. Being a speech pathologist, I was very in tune to my children's language anyway. And so you really have that advantage as a homeschool mom of you're there with your children. There's a lot that you already know about them. We really knew by honing into who he is and what he was saying and having a really open conversation, leaning into who he was, the things we were hearing, the things we were seeing, and also having that conversation with him. We always tell them, We will hear you. We will listen to what you're saying and how you're feeling. But at the end of the day, we still make the decision as your parents. We would take into consideration their thoughts. But if they were vastly different from ours, we would find something that still fit what we wanted first and still honoring what they needed.
I really like what you're saying about involving the students in their educational choices and journey, because kids don't always have that say in a traditional setting. And I love that even now as young children, you're setting them up to consider that they're in charge of their education and they have the responsibility to evaluate their learning and if it is providing for their education. I think that's a valuable concept to start right now, talking to kids about what works for you as a learner, what interests you. This is the reason we do this, so that we can create independent learners in the end. We have more insight and knowledge about what they need for their future, but we're teaching our kids right now to take ownership of their education, that their opinions have value to us.
Absolutely. I have 2 seasoned homeschool moms who I love. I've called them in my moments of, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing this? And they always come back to that. What is your end goal? I read this great quote the other day. It transformed my way of thinking about things, but it also fits so well with homeschool. And it says, may you have the courage to sit with discomfort. It's a dawn, not a death. Isn't that so good?
Yes.
And when you are just so feeling discomfort in your homeschool and something needs to change, when you're wondering why you're feeling that, sit with that. It's a dawn. What is it teaching you? What is it showing you? That's not a death. That's not the end of it. This is a moment. Everybody has moments. Everybody has seasons. But what is the end goal? A happy, healthy, God-loving child who is serving his purpose in the world. That's our end goal. May you have courage to sit with discomfort like it's a dawn, not a death. So something to think about when you're in those moments. That's not your end. That's not your end all. And everybody has seasons. Everybody has moments.
Awesome. That's a fantastic quote. And it fits so many aspects of life. But for homeschoolers, that when we have to make changes, when things get uncomfortable, the discomfort isn't a death. It could be the dawn of something new happening. And so it really is about your perspective and the lens that you look at things through, whether you're going to be forward facing or always in the past. We have to be forward facing for our children and for our family. Life is about moving forward. Thank you so much, Kelli, for coming on and chatting with us. I have so enjoyed this. If you want to come on live with me and talk about your homeschool, ask homeschool questions, you can go to happystronghome.com/ask and put in your question or topic, and we can plan a time to talk about it. And you can follow along at Facebook and Twitter at Happy Strong Home, where I share homeschool tips and family living advice and activities. I'm also on Instagram and YouTube at Julie Kiris. And of course, you can read along on the blog, happystronghome.com. Thank you again, Kelli, for coming on and talking about transforming your homeschool.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. And I want to encourage that you're doing a great job, because sometimes you need to hear that too.
You do need to hear that. You are doing a great job. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll tune in next time we're live on Facebook for the Homeschool Neighborhood, and have a great weekend.